Immediately, all the children dropped everything and ran for their lives. But Elsa had gone further inside, and she had found the sweetest strawberries close to the trees. She heard the boys' warning, but she refused to leave. She thought to herself, "Why should I run? What can be worse than my stepmother?" A long time ago, in a land full of lakes, there was a very large bush called Tontlawald. Nobody ever entered this bush because people feared it. Sometimes, a few brave people would go near the edge of the bush. When they came back, they said they saw an old broken house hidden among thick trees. Around the house, there were strange people everywhere, dirty men in torn clothes, old women, and half-naked children. They moved about like bees on grass. One night, a farmer was returning from a feast. He mistakenly walked close to the Tontlawald. When he came back, he said he saw many women and children gathered around a big fire. Some were sitting on the ground, while others were dancing strange dances. One old woman held a big iron spoon. Whenever she stirred the fire, the children would scream and run away, then later creep back. People also said a little old man with a long beard sometimes came out of the forest. He always carried a sack bigger than himself. Women and children would run after him, crying and trying to take the sack from him, but he always shook them off and went away. There was even a story about a huge black cat, as big as a horse. But nobody was sure which part of these stories was true and which was false. What everyone knew was this: strange things truly happened in Tontlawald. Even the king of Sweden, who owned that land, ordered people to cut down the forest. But nobody was brave enough. One man finally tried. He struck his axe into a tree. Immediately, blood poured out and a human-like cry of pain followed. The man dropped his axe and ran for his life. From that day, no order or threat could make anyone touch the forest again. Not too far from the Tontlawald, there was a big village. In that village lived a farmer who had just married a new wife. From the very first days of the marriage, the woman turned the whole house upside down. She and the farmer quarreled all the time. The farmer already had a daughter from his first wife. Her name was Elsa. Elsa was a quiet and gentle girl. She only wanted peace, but her stepmother refused to let her rest. Every day, the woman beat and shouted at her. The farmer could not do much, because his new wife controlled him. So poor Elsa suffered the punishment without help. For 2 years, this was Elsa's life, suffering and pain under her stepmother's hand. One bright day, Elsa followed other children from the village to pick strawberries. The children walked and played until they reached the edge of the Tontlawald. There, the strawberries were bigger and sweeter than anywhere else. The red fruits covered the grass. The children rushed down, plucked, and ate as many as they wanted. After that, they began to fill their baskets. Suddenly, one of the older boys shouted, "Run! Run fast! We are inside Tontlawald." Immediately, all the children dropped everything and ran for their lives. But Elsa had gone further inside, and she had found the sweetest strawberries close to the trees. She heard the boys' warning, but she refused to leave. She thought to herself, "Why should I run? What can be worse than my stepmother?" As she bent to pick more fruit, she saw a small black dog with a silver bell on its neck running towards her. Behind the dog came a beautiful young girl dressed in silk. "Be quiet," the girl told the dog. Then she turned to Elsa and said gently, "I am happy you did not run away like the other children. Stay with me and be my friend. We will play together every day and pick strawberries. Nobody will ever beat you again if I say so. Come, let me take you to my mother." The girl held Elsa's hand, and together they walked deeper into the Tontlawald. The little black dog ran beside them, barking happily. As Elsa followed the girl, her eyes opened wide in surprise. Everywhere looked like heaven. She saw trees and bushes full of ripe fruits. Bright, colorful birds filled the branches, singing sweet songs. The birds were not afraid at all. They allowed the girls to hold them and touch their gold and silver feathers. In the middle of the garden stood a shining house built with glass and precious stones. At the doorway sat a fine woman dressed in rich clothes. When she saw them, she asked the girl, "What kind of guest are you bringing to me?" "I found her alone in the forest," the girl replied. "I brought her so she can be my friend. Please let her stay." The woman laughed softly and looked at Elsa from head to toe. She called Elsa closer, touched her cheeks, and asked gently, "Are your parents alive? Do you really want to stay here?" At those words, Elsa knelt down, kissed her hand, and began to cry. "My mother has been dead for many years," she said. "My father is alive, but he does not care for me. My stepmother beats me every day. Please let me stay here. I will work hard. I will do anything you ask me. Only don't send me back to her." The woman smiled and said, "We shall see what we can do with you." Then she stood up and went inside the house. The girl whispered to Elsa, "Don't worry. My mother will be your friend. I can see it in her eyes." After a while, the girl came back from the house holding a small box. She smiled at Elsa and said, "My mother says we can play today. She is still thinking about what to do with you. But I hope you stay forever. I don't want you to leave. Have you ever seen the sea before?" Elsa looked confused. "The sea? What is that? I have never heard of it." The girl laughed. "Don't worry, I will show you." She opened the box. Inside were 3 small things, a piece of cloth, a mussel shell, and 2 tiny fish scales. On the cloth were 2 drops of water. The girl shook the drops on the ground, and at once everything around them disappeared. The garden, the house, the birds, all gone. All Elsa could see was water, stretching far and wide until it touched the sky. Only a small dry spot remained under their feet. The girl placed the mussel shell on the water, and it grew bigger and bigger until it became a boat. She held the fish scales and used them like a rudder. "Come," she said, pulling Elsa in. Elsa entered carefully, while the girl laughed at her fear. The waves rocked the boat gently, carrying them like a cradle. As they moved, they saw other boats filled with men singing happily. "We must sing too," said the girl. But Elsa did not know any songs, so the girl sang alone. Elsa noticed the men kept repeating one word, Kisika. She asked, "What does that mean?" The girl smiled. "That is my name." The ride was so sweet that Elsa wished it would never end. But suddenly a voice called out, "Children, it is time to come home." Kisika quickly dipped the cloth back into the water. In an instant, the sea vanished. They were back in the shining garden, standing before the fine house once again. Kisika and Elsa entered the house again. This time, they walked into a big hall. Inside, 24 richly dressed women sat around a long table. They looked like they were waiting for a wedding feast. At the head of the table sat the fine lady of the house, Kisika's mother, on a golden chair. Elsa did not know where to look. Everything inside was more beautiful than she had ever imagined. She sat down quietly with the others, and soon sweet fruits and fine food were served. Elsa ate, thinking to herself, "Surely this must be heaven." The women at the table spoke softly, but their language was strange to Elsa. She could not understand a word. Then the lady of the house turned and whispered to her maid. The maid left and soon returned with a little old man who had a beard longer than himself. The old man bowed before the lady and waited. "Do you see this girl?" the lady asked, pointing to Elsa. "I want to keep her here as my daughter. Make me a copy of her, so we can send the copy back to her village instead of her." The old man stared at Elsa carefully, like he was measuring her. Then he bowed again and left. After the feast, the lady turned to Elsa kindly. "Kisika wants you to stay with her, and you too have said you want to live here. Is that true?" At once, Elsa dropped to her knees. She kissed the woman's hands and feet. She could not believe she was being saved from her stepmother. But the lady raised her up gently and touched her head. "All will be well, my child," she said. "Be good and obedient. I will take care of you until you are grown. You will want for nothing." The very next morning, the little old man returned. In his hand he carried a strange doll. When Elsa looked closely, her heart jumped. The doll looked exactly like her. The same face, the same hair, the same clothes. It was like she was looking into a mirror. The old man bowed before Kisika's mother and said, "I have done as you asked. This copy will return home in her place. Nobody will know the difference." The lady nodded. She turned to Kisika and Elsa. "Now, you two can remain together. No one outside will suspect. Elsa's family will think she has come back from the forest, while the real Elsa will stay here in peace." So the old man carried the copy of Elsa to the edge of the Tontlawald and left it there. Not long after, the children from the village, who had run away the day before, came back with the farmers and the townspeople. They had been searching for Elsa. When they reached the forest's edge, they found the copy lying on the ground. She was unconscious but alive. "Ah, we have found her," the people shouted. The Tontlawald did not swallow her after all. They carried the copy of Elsa home with joy. But back in the shining house, the real Elsa stayed with Kisika. For the first time in her life, she felt safe. She did not have to fear her stepmother's hand anymore. When the villagers brought the copy of Elsa back to the farmer's house, everyone rejoiced. They thought the forest had spared her life. Her father hugged her tightly. "My child, I thought I lost you forever." The stepmother only forced a smile. Inside her heart, she was not happy to see her. She had hoped Elsa would never return. But the copy of Elsa behaved differently. She did not move quickly. She did not speak much. She did not smile the way the real Elsa used to. Sometimes, she just sat quietly, staring at the wall with empty eyes. Other times, she repeated words without sense. The villagers whispered, "The forest has changed her. She is no longer the same." But nobody suspected that the real Elsa was still inside the Tontlawald, safe with Kisika. While the copy lived in the village, the real Elsa was enjoying her new life in the shining house of the Tontlawald. Every morning, Kisika would run to her room, laughing, and pull her outside to play. Sometimes they went to the magical garden to pluck fruits. Other times, they sailed again on the endless sea inside the magic box. Elsa was happier than she had ever been in her whole life. She had fine clothes, delicious food, and most of all, peace. But in her heart, she still wondered about her father. Did he miss her? Did he know she was gone? She sometimes asked Kisika about it. Kisika would hold her hand and say, "Don't worry, Elsa. Here, no one can hurt you. My mother loves you like her own child. Forget the pain of your stepmother." Elsa tried to forget, but deep inside, she still carried the memory of her old home. Back in the village, things were not peaceful. The stepmother began to notice something strange about the copy of Elsa. "She is not the same girl I used to beat," she thought. "This one is too quiet, too slow, almost like a shadow." One day, she called her husband. "Look at your daughter. Can't you see she is no longer normal? That forest has spoiled her. Maybe she is even a spirit." But the father shook his head. "No, that is my child. I will not hear another word." The stepmother kept quiet, but in her heart, she burned with anger. She had wanted Elsa gone forever. Now, even though the girl was strange, she was still in the house. Meanwhile, the villagers too noticed the difference. They whispered behind the farmer's back, "Something is not right. That girl is not fully human anymore." And so, fear began to grow around the fake Elsa. In the Tontlawald, Elsa's new life continued. Kisika's mother began to teach her many things she had never known before. She showed her how to cook strange but sweet dishes, how to read signs written on leaves, and how to use plants to heal wounds. Sometimes, Elsa would sit with Kisika and listen as the women in the Golden Hall told stories. The stories were about lands far away, about spirits of the forest, and about people who once entered the Tontlawald but never returned. Elsa's eyes always grew wide. "So this forest is truly alive?" she asked. Kisika nodded. "Yes. The Tontlawald keeps secrets, but it also gives gifts to those who belong here." Elsa felt proud. For the first time in her life, she felt she belonged somewhere. But she did not know that outside in the village, her name was becoming a tale people feared to speak aloud. The copy of Elsa was still living in the farmer's house, but she was not like other children. At night, she would sit on her bed, staring into the dark without blinking. Sometimes she walked around the house, her feet making no sound, her eyes empty like glass. The stepmother grew more afraid. She told the villagers, "I warned you all. That forest has turned this girl into something else." Soon, the children in the village stopped playing with her. When she tried to join them, they ran away, shouting, "Forest child! Forest child!" Even the animals acted strange around her. Dogs barked when she passed. Goats refused to come close. Her father was troubled. He still loved her, but even he could not deny something was wrong. The village elders began to whisper, "If she is no longer human, then one day she may bring misfortune upon us all." Fear spread like smoke. In the shining house of the Tontlawald, Elsa's days were filled with joy. She wore soft dresses, ate fine food, and played endless games with Kisika. She no longer woke up to her stepmother's harsh voice or went to bed hungry. But sometimes, when she was alone, her thoughts returned to her father. She could see his tired face in her mind, his rough hands from farm work, his eyes full of worry. "I wish I could see him again," Elsa whispered to herself. One evening, Kisika found her sitting quietly in the garden, tears in her eyes. "Why are you sad, my sister?" she asked. Elsa sighed. "I am happy here, but I still miss my father. I wonder if he misses me too." Kisika held her hand. "One day, you will see him again. My mother says nothing stays hidden forever." Elsa's heart grew warm at those words. For the first time, she began to hope. The stepmother could no longer bear it. Every day, the strange copy of Elsa moved about the house like a shadow. She ate little, spoke little, and sometimes her face looked pale like she was fading. The stepmother said to herself, "If I don't act now, this spirit will bring destruction to us." One night, while her husband was asleep, she sneaked outside to meet an old herbalist who lived at the edge of the village. She told him everything. "I don't believe this girl is human anymore. I want you to prepare medicine that will expose her true form." The herbalist listened carefully. Then he gave her a small pot filled with dark liquid. "When she drinks this," he said, "the truth will show. If she is a spirit, the whole village will know." The woman smiled, holding the pot close to her chest. At last, she felt she had found a way to uncover the secret, but she did not know the danger her plan would bring. The next morning, the stepmother prepared porridge for breakfast. But before serving it, she poured the dark liquid from the herbalist into Elsa's bowl. She called sweetly, "My daughter, come and eat. You must regain your strength." The copy of Elsa walked slowly to the table. She sat down, lifted the spoon, and began to eat. At first, nothing happened, but soon her hands began to shake. Her skin turned pale, her eyes rolled upward, and her body trembled. She dropped the spoon and let out a strange cry that did not sound human. The father jumped up in shock. "What is happening to my child?" The villagers, hearing the noise, rushed into the house. They stood frozen as they saw the girl's body twisting, her face changing like smoke. One old woman among them gasped and shouted, "This is not Elsa. This is only her shadow." Fear spread through the crowd. Some ran away. Others cried out, "A spirit child! A spirit child!" The stepmother's plan had worked, but the truth was more frightening than even she expected. The crowd pressed closer, fear written on every face. The copy of Elsa stood in the middle of the room, her body flickering like a candle flame. Her father cried, "Elsa! Elsa, my child!" But the shadow only looked at him with empty eyes. Then, with a loud wail, the figure collapsed to the floor. Her body melted into a thin mist that rose slowly into the air. The villagers gasped. Children screamed and hid behind their mothers. Within moments, the shadow disappeared completely. Nothing was left behind, not even clothes. Silence filled the room. The father fell to his knees, tears running down his cheeks. "My daughter, she is gone." But the stepmother only folded her arms and said coldly, "Now you have seen the truth. That thing was never your child." The villagers murmured among themselves. Some believed Elsa was dead. Others began to whisper that perhaps the real Elsa was still alive, somewhere beyond the forest. Days passed after the shadow disappeared. The father was broken. He hardly ate, hardly spoke. Every evening, he sat outside his hut, staring at the forest as if it might return his daughter to him. The villagers also remained restless. Some said, "Elsa is dead." Others whispered, "No, maybe she lives with the spirits in the Tontlawald." One evening, the village elders gathered. The oldest among them said, "Children do not vanish without reason. The Tontlawald has taken her. But if the spirits have her, she may still be alive." The father's heart leapt with a little hope. "If she lives, then I must see her again," he whispered. But another elder warned, "The Tontlawald is not a place for men. Whoever enters may never return." Still, the father's mind was not at rest. Deep inside, he began to dream of finding Elsa again, no matter the danger. One night, as the moon shone bright over the village, the farmer lay awake on his mat. He could not sleep. His heart was heavy with longing for his daughter. He remembered her laughter as a little child, the way she used to run to him when he returned from the farm. He wiped his eyes and sat up. "No," he said to himself. "My daughter is not gone. She is waiting for me." At dawn, he stood and told his wife, "I am going into the Tontlawald. I will not return without Elsa." The stepmother gasped, "Are you mad? That forest is death. If you go, you will never come back." But the man only shook his head. "Better I die searching than live with an empty heart." By evening, he tied a small bag with food and water. He looked once more at his compound, then faced the dark line of trees. His journey into the forbidden forest had begun. The farmer stepped carefully into the forest. At first, it looked like any other bush with tall trees and thick grass. But the deeper he went, the stranger it became. The air grew heavy, and the silence pressed against his ears. Birds no longer sang. Even the wind seemed to hold its breath. He walked on, clutching his bag tightly. Soon he began to see things that made his heart beat fast. Trees that glowed faintly, shadows moving where no one stood, and flowers that opened and closed like living mouths. At one point, he thought he heard Elsa's voice calling softly, "Father, Father." He spun around but saw nothing. His legs trembled, but he refused to turn back. "Elsa, my child," he whispered, "I will find you." At last, in the distance, he saw a faint golden light shining through the trees. It looked like a house glowing in the dark. With new strength, he began to walk towards it. As the farmer moved closer, the golden light grew brighter until it shone like the sun. At last, he stepped into a wide clearing, and there it was, a house made of shining glass and stone, glowing as if it was alive. His mouth fell open. He had never seen such beauty in his life. Flowers taller than him swayed around the house, and a sweet smell filled the air. Cautiously, he walked forward. The ground beneath his feet felt soft, almost like it was welcoming him. Then he heard laughter, soft, gentle, and familiar. His heart raced. "Elsa," he called. The laughter stopped. For a moment, silence covered the clearing. Then the door of the house opened slowly. A young girl stepped out. She wore a bright dress, her hair neatly plaited, her eyes shining. The farmer's knees went weak. "Elsa, my daughter," he whispered, and the girl gasped, "Father!" They ran into each other's arms. The farmer held Elsa tightly, afraid she would vanish if he let go. Tears ran down his cheeks as he whispered, "I thought I lost you forever." Elsa too was crying. "Father, I have missed you so much. The spirits took me, but they did not harm me. They kept me here, in this shining house." The farmer pulled back to look at her face. She looked healthy, even more beautiful than before, but her eyes carried the weight of sorrow. "Come," she said, holding his hand. "Let me show you where I live." She led him inside the glowing house. The walls sparkled like crystal, and the floor shone under their feet. Strange but gentle lights floated in the air, like stars caught indoors. The farmer sat down, still in shock. "Elsa, my child, this place is wonderful, but it is not home. Come back with me. Let us leave this forest together." Elsa lowered her head. Her voice was soft. "Father, I cannot leave." "Not yet." Elsa sat beside her father and held his hand. "The spirits who keep me here are kind, but they do not allow me to leave. They say my time with them is not finished." The farmer frowned. "What kind of time? You are my child. You belong with me." Before Elsa could answer, a soft wind moved through the house. The lights in the air flickered, and a deep voice filled the room. "She cannot return yet." The farmer jumped to his feet, looking around in fear. "Who speaks?" The voice came again, calm but strong. "We are the keepers of the Tontlawald. Elsa was brought here because of her stepmother's cruelty. Until her fate is complete, she must remain under our care." The farmer trembled. "But she is my daughter. How long must I wait?" The voice replied, "When the time is right, she will walk out of this forest freely. Until then, do not return with empty hands. Take this gift as a sign of our word." From the air, a small shining box appeared and landed gently before him. The farmer bent slowly and picked up the box. It was small, no bigger than his palm, but it glowed like fireflies trapped inside glass. Elsa touched it gently. "Father, keep it safe. The spirits give gifts with meaning. This one will help you." The farmer stared at it, confused. "But how?" Before Elsa could explain, the voice of the spirits returned. "Open it only when you are in great need. Use it with wisdom, and it will never fail you." Then the glowing house shook lightly, and the air grew heavy again. Elsa looked at her father with tears in her eyes. "Go now, father. If you stay longer, the forest will not allow you to leave. But do not forget me. One day, we will be together again." The farmer hugged her tightly one last time. His heart was breaking, but he obeyed. Slowly, he stepped back out into the clearing, the shining box in his hand. The golden door closed behind Elsa, and the forest swallowed the house once more. The farmer walked through the forest, clutching the shining box close to his chest. The path was darker now, and every step felt heavy. Strange shadows followed him, and whispers floated in the air, but none dared touch him. It was as if the spirits themselves were clearing the way for him to leave. At last, he reached the edge of the Tontlawald. The cool night air of the village rushed to greet him. His knees gave way, and he fell to the ground, exhausted. When he entered the village at dawn, people gathered around him in shock. "He went into the forest and came back alive," they murmured. The stepmother pushed her way through the crowd, her eyes wide. "Where is Elsa? Did you find her?" The farmer looked at her, his face hard. "Yes, she lives, and she is safe from your wickedness." Gasps filled the air. The stepmother's face turned pale, but she said nothing. The farmer held up the glowing box. "The spirits gave me this. It is a gift of power, and it will expose all truth." The crowd pressed closer, staring at the glowing box in the farmer's hands. "Open it," someone shouted. The farmer hesitated, then slowly lifted the lid. At once, a bright light poured out, spreading across the compound. It was so strong that everyone shielded their eyes. When the light touched the stepmother, she screamed. Her lies, her cruelty, her jealousy, all were revealed before the whole village. Images flashed in the air, the way she mocked Elsa, the way she plotted to send her into the forest. Nothing could be hidden. The villagers gasped in anger. "This woman is wicked. She tried to destroy her husband's child." Ashamed and exposed, the stepmother fell to the ground, trembling. The farmer closed the box, and the light faded, leaving silence behind. The village elders stepped forward. "From today, she will have no power in this house. Let her live with the shame of her deeds." The farmer raised the box high. "The spirits promised my child will return when her time is complete. Until then, I will wait." The villagers nodded, their hearts moved by his faith. Every night after that, the farmer sat outside his hut, staring at the forest. He believed. One day, Elsa would walk out of the Tontlawald, free at last. And when that day came, father and daughter would begin again together.